this isn't just another entry, it's the 9th mainline installment, and the pressure was on. The setup here is a bold move for Capcom. We aren't starting with a legendary hero. Instead, we're introduced to Grace Ashcroft. If that name sounds familiar to the hardcore fans, it's because she's the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft from the Outbreak series. The year is 2026, and it's been 28 years since the Raccoon City incident, but the scars still haven't healed. Grace is an FBI analyst sent to the long-abandoned Wrenwood Hotel, the very place her mother was killed years ago. This personal stake makes the first few hours feel incredibly intimate. It's not about saving the world yet, it's about a daughter looking for closure in a place that feels like it's screaming at her. Of course, this is Resident Evil, so closure involves a late-onset T-virus outbreak and being hunted by things that definitely shouldn't be walking. The narrative eventually pulls in Leon S. Kennedy, looking older, more tired, and definitely more cynical. And the chemistry between the rookie energy of Grace and the seen-it-all vibe of Leon is one of the game's strongest points. It feels like a passing of the torch that actually respects the flame. Now let's talk about the controversial part, the dual perspective system. Requiem does something I haven't seen executed this well since the Revelations titles. When you play as Grace, the game defaults to a first-person perspective. These sections are pure survival horror. Grace isn't a combat specialist. She stutters, her hands shake when she's aiming, and resources are brutally scarce. You're doing a lot of sneaking, light puzzle solving, and calculated retreats, which is gamer speak for running away screaming. It feels like Resident Evil 7's claustrophobia dialed up to 11. Then the game puts you in control of Leon, and we transition seamlessly into third-person over-the-shoulder action. This is the Resident Evil 4 Remake DNA. Leon has the parries, the roundhouse kicks, and the firepower. The game director described this as jumping into a cold bath after a hot sauna, and he's right. It's jarring at first, but it keeps the pacing from ever feeling stale. You spend an hour being terrified as Grace, and then you get 20 minutes of catharsis as Leon. It is a bit blockbuster in its delivery, but the way these two styles dovetail, finding a key as Leon that opens a path for Grace later in the timeline is level design genius. Technically speaking, Requiem is a showstopper. This is the first Resident Evil game built exclusively for current gen hardware, ditching the PS4, Xbox One shackles, and it shows. The RE engine is doing some heavy lifting here. On the base PS5, you have the standard choice, performance or fidelity. Performance, it's a rock solid 60 FPS, which is essential for Leon's combat sections. But if you're playing on a PS5 Pro, the ray tracing and PSSR upscaling make the Wrenwood Hotel look hauntingly real. The way light flickers through the dust motes in a ruined lobby, or the way the wet gore effects look, it's honestly a little too detailed. The 3D audio is also some of the best in the series. I highly recommend playing with a good headset. Hearing the distinct squelch of a regenerator type enemy in the floorboards above you while you're hiding in a closet as Grace, that's the kind of tension you can't get from a TV speaker. It's not a perfect game though. At about 10 to 12 hours for a first playthrough, it's on the shorter side, especially compared to the sprawling nature of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Some of the puzzles are also a bit Resident Evil 101. You know the drill. Find the 3 medallions, put them in the statue, open the door. It's nostalgic, but after 30 years, I'd love to see a bit more evolution in the brain teaser department. Also, the stalker enemy in this game, which I won't spoil, is terrifying, but its AI can be a bit predictable once you realize it can't enter certain safe rooms. It breaks the immersion slightly when a 9-foot tall biological nightmare stops at a doorway because of a save room theme playing. However, the highs far outweigh the lows. The gore is the most brutal I've ever seen. The story actually feels like it's moving the series lore forward rather than just spinning its wheels, and the dual protagonist system is a masterclass in how to satisfy both old school and modern fans. Ultimately, Resident Evil Requiem is a triumph. It's a love letter to the fans who have been there since Raccoon City, but it's polished enough to be a perfect entry point for newcomers. It's dark, it's wet, it's violent, and it's exactly what the series needed to kick off its next decade. Resident Evil Requiem earns a 9 out of 10.